All right. Okay. So, like I mentioned, we are going to be looking at, some past papers for paper one. I did mention that we're going to be starting with the prelim. Okay, this is the prelim that was written. Let me just make sure that I'm saying the right thing here. All right, in 2025. So there's a prelim that was written this year by the Gauteng province learners. So that's basically what we're going to be looking at. And then we're also going to be looking at last year's November paper one. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this prelim. Okay, so it's this year's prelim written by the Gauteng province learners. Then we're also going to look at the um, November exam for 2024. Okay, so those are the two papers that we're going to be looking at just to help us, solidify the concepts that we've learned for paper one. And then we also will just do some revision as well on everything that we've learned on paper two. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Remember what I said, right? When you start with your exam, okay, please make sure that you do not take the instructions for granted. Okay, please give yourself enough time to just, when they give you that 5 minute reading time, I'm not sure, I think it's for a 3 hour paper. Do they give you 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Not sure. Okay, but please just make sure that you use that reading time that they will give to you, okay, to go through the instructions, okay, to just read through these things because they're very important, okay, especially when it comes to the rounding off. Don't just use your own discretion when it comes to rounding off. Look at what is said there as to what you need to do when it comes to rounding off. But like I always say, just always remember, if you're looking at your finance questions, always just round off the final answer. Okay. Or even if you're doing your measurement questions, just round off your final answer always. Okay. Just to ensure that you maintain accuracy. Okay. So if they don't really tell you how you need to round off, you can even just keep it to 2 decimal places. Okay. They won't mark it wrong. But also just make sure that you read the instructions that are given. When it comes to the rounding off, sometimes they'll give you those instructions in these instructions and information. Sometimes they will tell you as you're going through the paper how you need to ensure or how you need to round off. Okay, so please just give yourself enough time to read through these instructions so that you make sure that you're on the same page with what you need to do. Okay, so we're gonna just get started with question number one. Right, so with question one, okay, from what I've seen when I went through this paper, your 1.1 basically just deals with terminology. Okay, it just deals with your, the terminology or different definitions that you need to know when it comes to your paper one. Okay, so like your definitions for finance, okay, definitions for data handling, okay, things like that. Okay, so it just taps into that. Then when we look at question 1.2, okay, question 1.2 basically deals with, analyzing data. Okay, so we're given this table, right? And we basically need to now use this table, right, that is given to us to answer questions that are given. So it's just analyzing data that's given to us and then answering questions relating to this. Okay, then I also saw that with question 1.3, question 1.3 basically dealt with the municipal document. Okay, so here it was nice and easy. Honestly speaking, you would have seen that you weren't really required to calculate VAT and everything like that. It is just all about us, looking at information, looking at the values that are given to us in all these columns and all these rows and just calculating these missing figures. Okay, so you would have seen that if you basically did this question, it was also nice and easy. Then, when we got to question 2.1, now question 2.1 basically deals with your cost price and selling price. Okay, so this question needs you to remember everything that we've learned together when we were basically looking at your cost price and selling price. So the different formulas, remember I gave you those 3 formulas that you need to know off by heart when you're dealing with your cost price and selling price. How do you calculate the total income of a business? How you calculate the total expenses of a business, and how you also calculate the profit that a business is making. This question also requires you to know what is a break-even point. At what point, okay, do we reach a break-even point in a business? So that's how you were supposed to remember that we reach a break-even point, right? When the income of a business is equal to your expenses, right? And it also requires us to remember that if you want to now know at what point a business starts to make a profit, you always need to go what? 1 unit up. Right. So remember, we've discussed all of these concepts that we've discussed. If you were basically listening, you were taking down notes, you were supposed to be able to honestly answer these questions. And then I saw, okay, I don't know how far we'll get today, but I'm just trying to also just, with question 2.2, you would have seen that now with question 2.2, it also dealt with your interest calculations. So remember, we also spoke about how we calculate your simple interest, how we calculate your compound interest, the difference between the two, right? And how you need to go about doing those calculations. Okay, so hopefully today I will see, right? But I'm thinking we'll probably get to question 2.2 for today. All right, so please make sure that you're asking questions, you're interacting with me as much as you can, okay? And then let's see how far we can push these questions. Okay, let's get started. So now when we look at question 1.1, right, like I mentioned, just deals with your terminology. Okay, just remember it. I promise you, if you've been studying, if you've been going through all these concepts, these terms should be easy, right? You should know who's who in the zoo when it comes to these definitions. Okay, but then let's see. Number 1.1. Okay, it says that table 1 below gives definitions and terminology used in mathematical literacy. Match the terminology in column B with the definitions in column A. Right? Then write only the letter A to G next to the question numbers 1.1.1 to 1.1.5, right? And then they just give you an example of how you need to answer these questions. So for example, you can say the answer to question 1.1.6 is H, right? That's basically what they're looking for, right? So this is a nice paper because you can see we are just filling in here. They made our lives nice and simple, okay? So let's see. Question 1.1.1, the value of one currency relative to the value of another currency. What do we call that?
The exchange rate.
Good, exchange rate. Okay, so here we can see that the correct answer is D. Question 1.1.2, the rate charged per unit for services or products. So what do you think that is? If they charge you a rate, okay, remember, if we're talking about rate, we are talking about rands per liter, rands per kiloliter, right? You are charged a rate either for a service or products. What do we call that?
I think a tariff, ma'am.
It's definitely tariff. Okay, so 1.1.2 is the tariff. Good. Question 1.1.3, it says compulsory tax charged for the consumption of goods and services. Okay, so which one is this one? Nice and easy because there's no other one. Oh, actually, there is. Let's see. For
Val-
the good. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
it is the value added tax.
Good. Value added tax. E, right? For the consumption. Remember, this is for the consumption of goods and services, right? It's value added tax. Now, 1.1.4, an entry into the account which shows money paid into the account. So if there's money that's coming into your account, what is that?
That's credit.
Credit, definitely. G. Okay, we know that, it's called a credit if money is coming into your account, money is leaving, exiting your account, it's a debit. Okay, so it can't be debit. Question 1.1.5, an increase in the price of a basket of goods or services that represent the economy as a whole. Which one is this one? If there's an increase, inflation. Finish and clap. Okay, if there's an increase in the price of goods and services, okay, and this talks about, this is all about the economy as a whole, right? We are definitely talking about inflation there. Okay, really, honestly speaking, guys, these types of questions, we should all be getting 10 out of 10 for them. Okay, you can't be getting anything less than that. You should be able to pick up, okay, what's happening when it comes to these definitions and how you're supposed to match it with the words that are given in column B. Okay, nicely done. Done. Now, question 1.2. Question 1.2, we are basically now dealing with analyzing data. Okay, remember, if we're talking about analyzing data, we're not really just, focusing on graphs. They can even give you a table, right? They can give you a table, and in that table, you've got, some different numerical values, different amounts, okay? And from that, they'll probably ask you, to find missing or, numbers that have been omitted. We can already see that A has been omitted there, right? So here, right, it's all about just, right, using our, data analysis skills to help us solve for that missing value A. Okay, so it can come in the form of a table like this. It can come in the form of graphs where you're analyzing pie charts, bar graphs, line graphs, whatever. Okay, you just need to be able to actually also, they love this, work with a table, try to, from just, the table that's given to you, try to see, is there any kind of a pattern, okay, that you can see, okay, how can I find that value of A? You need to think along those lines when you're analyzing these tables. You should see they're nice and easy to analyze. It's really not rocket science. As long as you just remember, okay, you just look at the pattern, how did they get to this amount? Then you should be able to figure out how you need to get to that A there. All right, let's see. So it says traffic delays and fatalities are caused by an increase in the number of vehicles on the road. Statistics South Africa has recorded the number of registered vehicles in South Africa per province from March 2023 to March 2024. They say you need to study table 2 below and use it to answer the questions that follow. Right, so we're given this table 2, right? And this table basically represents the number of registered vehicles per province from March 2023 to March 2024. Okay, so we're given all these different provinces, obviously our 9 provinces, right? Then all of the registered vehicles, okay, for all of these provinces in March 2023. These are the total number of vehicles that were registered on the road, okay? Right, so we've got, what is that amount there? Can someone please read that amount? This total value of the vehicles that were registered in South Africa as a whole in March 2023. What is that value there?
13,023,833.
Good. Okay, 13,023,833. Then we also have the total number of vehicles that were registered in South Africa in March 2024, right? We know here it's 13,195,793. Okay, so we're going to just use this table and then we're going to answer the questions that are given to us, right? They also tell us where they got this information. They told us that it has been adapted from Stats SA Road Traffic Accident Report. So these are actual stats. Okay, these are actual stats on the number of vehicles that were registered in South Africa from 2023 to 2024. And you can obviously see that there's an increase in the number of registered vehicles from 2023 to 2024. Okay, so question 1.2.1. Which province registered the second highest number of vehicles in March 2023?
Isn't it Western Cape?
Definitely the Western Cape, okay, because you can see the province that registered the highest, Okay, it was for 2023. I need to remember what I always said. Just try to always narrow down your information. Okay, here we're just focusing on this column, right? We're focusing on 2023, and in 2023 we can see that the province, okay, that had the highest number of vehicles that are registered in 2023 is definitely Gauteng. But then they don't want the province that had the highest. Okay, they want the province that had the second highest. Okay, so if you basically go down the list, you'll see that the second highest is the Western Cape. The third highest, I think you should see that it's the KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, so we can definitely see that the correct answer for that one is the Western Cape. Okay, that's the province that registered the second highest number of vehicles in March 2023. Okay, then write down the number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa in March 2023 in words. Okay, so here, Tepo already gave us that answer. We can already see that the number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa in March 2023, remember what Tepo said, it's 13,023,000. Okay, 13,023,833. So we just need to write down that number in words. Okay, I'm just going to write it in words. So 13,023,000, okay, 833. Okay, 13,023,833. Okay, cool. Question 1.2.3. Calculate the missing value of A, okay, the number of vehicles registered in the Eastern Cape in March 2024. Can someone please take us through how we need to go about getting that missing value A? Can someone please take us through the process of how we need to go calculate that missing value A?
I think we are gonna add the total number of all the cars for March 2023. Then we are going to subtract it from the 13,195,793.
Good. Right? 13,195,793. Okay. So all that we need to do here, guys, right? Remember, for us to get this final amount here, what did they do? They added that value, that value, that value, this value, that value, that value, that value, that value, that value. Okay. That's how they basically get to that total of 13,195,793. So now, if we want to basically get the value of A, all that we need to do, we just need to add this amount. So we're going to say this plus this plus this plus this plus that plus that plus that plus that. Let me just show you. So you'll see that if you actually add up all of those values, okay, you should get, please confirm, I got 12 million. Let me just show you something. Got 12,335,530. Okay, what I've done there, I've just added all of these values that I've just circled in red. Okay, so if I add all those values plus the A, please take note. My answer should be 13,195,793. 13,195,793. Okay, so if I add up all these values, guys, can you see my red? Or must I change my color?
I can see.
Okay, right. So if I add this, obviously from adding all those values that I've circled, plus the A, it should give me that final answer of 13,195,793. But remember, we're basically trying to solve for A. Okay, there's a reason why I choose to use this strategy, because I've been trying to say that you guys need to get into the habit of solving an equation for an unknown. So that's why I'm basically going this route of explaining in this way, okay? So here, we're just trying to solve for what is A? What's the value of, that A there? Okay, so what do you need to do? So for you to solve for A, what do we need to do? You need to basically take that 12,335,530 and you need to basically take it to the other side. Do you agree? So then the answer will be, it'll be that 13,195,793 minus 12 million, okay, 335,530 530, right? So you'll see that if you actually subtract these two values from each other, let me check if I'm getting the correct answer. 793 minus 12, 335, 530. All right, sorry about that, guys. Right, so you'll see that when you subtract these two values, what are we getting?
860,263.
860,263. Okay, so that is basically that unknown value there, right? 860,263. Okay, nice and easy. Are we all following with what I did there with solving for the A?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's continue. Question 1.4. Now, with question 1.4, they are asking us to express the number of vehicles registered. Okay, sorry guys, let me just do this. Okay, express the number of vehicles registered in the Free State in March 2024 as a percentage of the total number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa in March 2024, right? So before you give me the answer, remember, right? I said that when they're asking you to do your percentage calculations, right? Always think of it this way, right? When you're doing the percentage calculation, think of what is the part divided by what is the whole multiplied by 100. You always need to think in this way, okay? And that will always give you, the percentage of something. For example, if I say to you, Tepo got 25 out of 30 for his mathematical literacy prelim. Okay, I know the prelims are not out of 30, but you're getting my point. You think to yourself, what is the part? So the Tepo got 25, okay, out of a total of the 30, because that prelim was out of 30, okay, according to the example that I've given. Then you multiply by 100. So you always need to think in this way when you are doing your percentage calculation. Think of what is the part, what is the whole, then you multiply by 100 because you are trying to obviously calculate what? The percentage. Okay, so let's look at this one. What's the answer here? What is our part? What is our whole? And then how do you go about getting our answer? Take it away. No one did this one. Oh, we're not understanding what's happening with the explanation.
Can I try?
Go for it.
Mom, please go back to the thing.
Okay.
Mom, aren't we gonna take the full number of faith, Mom?
Guys, also please just have the question paper open, on your devices. Right? Just have it open. Then you'll be able to just follow nicely with what we're doing there. Okay. So the question is telling us, sorry guys, the question is telling us that we basically need to express the number of vehicles registered in Free State. So we're focusing on the Free State 2024. We're focusing on 2024 as a percentage of the total number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa. And we're also focusing on that amount. So if looking at these two amounts, do you see? I don't know if you guys are noticing what I did there. All right. So what's the part? What's the whole? Okay. Because they want, what is the percentage? Okay. What is the percentage of the total number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa in March? Okay. Express the number of vehicles registered in the Free State, okay, as a percentage of the total number of vehicles registered in the Republic of South Africa. So what are we supposed to do there? Okay, or must I just give you the answer? Like I said, in this case, we want to express the number of vehicles that are registered. What is the percentage of the vehicles in the Free State that were registered, right, in relation to the total number of vehicles in South Africa? So in this case, what's the part there? You will see that for the number of vehicles that are registered in Free State, I'm going to write it like this, the part, the whole. So what's the part? It's 647,154. That's the part, okay? Part of the total, right? So what's the whole? The whole is 13,195,793. multiplied by 100. Okay, so that's our part. Only a fraction of the total vehicles. So that is the fraction divided by the total number of vehicles that are registered for 2024 March multiplied by 100. Okay, so you'll see that when you get your answer, always just write the full answer before you round off. Okay, so you'll see that your answer is 4,904 24486%. Okay, remember if you multiply by 100, it's a percentage. Okay, then obviously here, you can just round it off to 2 decimal places if you want to, 4,90%. Okay, always just remember to write the full value. Then if you do want to round off, maybe they haven't specified how you should round off, just keep it to 2 decimal places. Honestly speaking, guys, just keep it to 2 decimal places. No one's going to mark you out. Okay, unless if they basically gave us instructions that explicitly tells us how we need to round off. So do you see? But round off all final answers appropriately, okay, according to the given context, unless stated otherwise. So in this case, because they haven't really told us how we need to round off our answer, okay, you can round it off to 2 decimal places, honestly speaking, or you can, if you even decide to just keep your answer as a full number like that, that will also still be marked correctly, okay? But never round off to the nearest percentage or nearest whole number or near that one. You are becoming a bit too extreme, right? Just try to keep it to 2 decimal places, unless stated otherwise. This is what I always tell to my students. Okay, because we can see that when it comes to those instructions, they haven't really explicitly said how we need to round off. So just keep it to 2 decimal places. Okay, no one's going to mark you incorrect there. Right, question 1.2.5. Are we fine with question 1.2.4? Are we understanding what I did there, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, let's look at question 1.2.5. Right, determine the difference, okay, between the number of vehicles registered in the Northern Cape and the Northwest in March 2024. All right, so here again, guys, the question is telling us exactly what we need to do. Honestly speaking, guys, honestly, okay, as much as this is not a level 1 question, but it's like, yeah, it's just a simple, 1-step, 2-step question, okay, that you should be able to do. If you're finding the difference, we're minusing, okay, the value, the number of vehicles that are registered in the Northwest from the number of vehicles that are registered in the Northern Cape. So we're just trying to get the difference between these two. Okay, so if you want the difference, you'll see that. Remember always what I say, always just try to center your focus, or make sure that you're focusing on the right thing. In this case, we are focusing on the year 2024. So if you're focusing on the year 2024, okay, which two provinces are we focusing on in this case? We're just focusing on the Northern Cape, right? Is it there? I think they said the Northern Cape. And then we're also focusing on the Northwest. Okay, so Northern Cape and the Northwest, and we're focusing on 2024. So we just want the difference between these two. Okay, so obviously if you want the difference between these two, we are basically going to take your bigger number, okay, which is 667,632 minus 295,238. Okay, that's basically what we're going to do there. Right, so I'm just gonna write that down. Please, guys, this is not money. This is just the number of vehicles. Just hold on. Right, this is just the number of vehicles that have been registered. So minus 295,238. Okay, then you'll see if you punch that into your calculator, the difference should give you 372,394. Okay, also just a tip, when it comes to your paper 1, also just make sure that you're just practicing, right? Just practicing how to write out, these big numbers in words, okay? Just, randomly generate a, especially if you know that you struggle when it comes to place value, saying out these big numbers, your billions, your millions, 100 millions, those type of numbers. If you know yourself and you know that they tend to trap you a bit, right? Just generate a random number on ChatGPT, right? Then just check, okay, tell yourself, write that number out in words and see how you do with that. Okay, just practice with that so that you know that with these level 1 questions, level 2 questions, you're not losing important marks there. Okay, so I think this one is nice and easy. Should have got that your difference is this amount. Okay, question 1.2.6. Identify the province that had the highest number of registered vehicles in 2024, right? So if you look at 2024, the province that had the highest number of registered vehicles was, nice and easy, Gauteng. Okay, so we can see that that province was Gauteng. All right, let's continue. Right, so here, I think there was nothing that was, of main concern here. Still, at this point, we're supposed to be nice, confident. Okay, we should be able to answer these questions. Nothing, off the roof where we feel like, hey, we are starting to sweat. Honestly speaking, yeah, we should be gliding through these questions. All right, now let's look at question 1.3. Remember, also in your preliminary exams, your final paper 1 deals with your financial documents as mentioned. Your finance data handling, that is paper 1 in a nutshell. All right, so it comes with understanding your different types of your financial documents, right? So in Ekurhuleni North, this year we were focusing mostly on, your bank statements, your municipal documents. We were focusing on your income and expenditure documents, so that your, especially for the obviously grade 10s, right? Your budgets, right? So honestly speaking, if you want to be able to analyze your documents, you can always just use these types of documents as a way to practice. Your bank statement, they love the bank statement. Your credit card statement, your municipal invoices, so your electrical bill, water bill, they love those. Okay. Income and expenditure statements for businesses, right? Look at those as well, but it's not really hard. Okay, like I think I've mentioned when we were looking at your preps for June. Okay, if you're able to just understand, income, what are incomes, what are expenses, you should be able to look at those income and expenditure statements, even for a business. They're not really that complicated. Okay, so just look at those financial documents. I mentioned that if we're going to go through all these financial documents, honestly speaking, guys, you're not going to be able to focus on other important concepts. But if you just look at those financial documents that I've, spoken about, the ones that we've done, together, I think we also looked at a payslip. Also, just make sure that you're able to just analyze someone's payslip, okay, so that you are able to answer your income tax questions. Then you should honestly speaking, have an idea on how to analyze your financial documents. Understanding what is an income, what is a credit, what is a debit, what is an opening balance, what is a closing balance. Those important terminologies. Okay, just be able to work with that, and also use that to be able to analyze your financial documents. Okay, right. So here, they say Ubusi extracted parts of her municipal account statement to check the amount she has to pay towards her bills. So they tell us to study table 3 below and answer the questions that follow. Right, so we're given the date, and then we're given the details or the types of the transactions. Then they're giving us the VAT exclusive amount, so the amount that Ubusi paid without VAT. They gave us the VAT amount here. Okay, some of them you can see that there's 0. Okay, then they also gave us the VAT inclusive amount. Remember, what is VAT inclusive? It's the amount including that, right? So also taking note of your dates. Please also take note of the dates. right? We can see that the 12th of December, 2024, 24th December, 2024, 25th December. Okay, so, and then you've got the 12th of January, 2025. Okay, be careful there when you're also reading your dates, or look at that information, right? Okay, so here we can see that there was a balance brought forward, right? So amount that this person owed on the 12th of December 2024 is 1,749.70 cents, right? Obviously VAT was not charged there, and then the amount including VAT was that amount. Then this person made a payment, okay, hence the negative, right? They made a payment of 200 Rand. Okay, VAT wasn't charged. They also made a payment of 1,330. VAT was not charged. Okay, then the subtotal, right? You can see that it's 219.70. Okay, so you should always be thinking, how did they actually calculate this subtotal? Your mind should always just, think about that when you're looking at, in this types of information that is given to us. Okay, so you can already see that from there. Okay, you can see that for them to get this subtotal, what did they do? They just took this 1,700, the minus this 200, the minus the 1,300. Okay, so you always need to think along those lines when you're analyzing your financial documents. All right. Then we have now here, you've got on the 12th of January 2025, the property rates, okay, that were basically charged on this person's account. Okay, they were charged property or rates of to the value of 305 Rands. Okay, we can see that no VAT is charged there. Okay, then there was water. Okay, this person was charged, given a, obviously they charged them or billed them 161 Rand, 42 cents for water. Then you can see now they're starting to add the VAT there. Okay, which makes sense. You do get charged VAT for water consumption. You do get charged VAT for electricity consumption, but we're seeing something here, right? It comes to property rates. According to this municipal statement, you can already see that their VAT is not charged. Okay, so like I said, as you're going through these things, in your brain needs to be thinking about this. Obviously, also here, they charged this person a bill of 95 Rand and 13 cents for sanitation. They also charged them that VAT of 14 Rand and 27 cents. Okay, then from here, they just told us what the standard rate for VAT is. It's 15%. Okay, then same thing here. How did they move from all of these values to that value? What did they do? Okay, you need to be thinking along those lines. Okay, how will we get that total value C? You need to think along those lines. Okay, then from here, then they give us that to get the total amount payable, you need to take the A. Okay, so you can see that that is the total for A plus the total for B, which is this amount, and then it'll basically give us D, right? So then they also give us that note. That hashtag means zero rated. Okay, so remember, we already know what zero rated means. Zero rated basically means that, okay, this is a service where they don't charge you VAT, or goods where they don't charge VAT. Okay, so you should be familiar with the word zero rated. It comes up a lot when you analyzing your till slips, where you find that in a till slip, certain items, right, that you'd buy at Pick and Pay, right, they'll be zero rated. So they'll either be a star or there'll be a hashtag. Okay, so it basically means that for those items, you don't have to pay VAT. Okay, so just take note of that. So it says that question 1.3.1, identify the zero-rated service from the municipality or the municipal, account statement. So what is the zero-rated service from the municipal account statement? No one wants to answer. What is?
Is it the property rates?
Definitely the property rates. Okay, because we see that there, that is the service. Okay, that is zero rated from the municipal account statement. That's the only service that has that hashtag there. Okay, there's no other one that has that hashtag there. Right, cool. Let's continue. determine the value of C, which is the vet charged. How can you determine the value of C? How can you determine the value of C, guys? Come on.
Ma'am, aren't you gonna add the 24 and the 14 together?
That's it. Guys, we can see that for us to get the value of C, okay, right, we're just focusing on what's happening on this column here, right? So you can see that for that column, okay, if you remember what I said, always just look at the patterns, okay, that you're seeing, okay, as you basically go down. So if you can see the chart, if you take the 305 plus 161,42, you'll get that 561,55. Same here. If you get that, take that 24,21 plus that 14,27, that should give us that value of C. All right. So you can see that to get the value of C, okay, we're just gonna take that 24 rand, 21 plus 14 rand, 27. Okay, and that should basically give us 38 rand, 48 cents. All right. Now, question 1.1.3. Show by means of calculation that the value of D, the VAT exclusive total payable amount, is 781 rand and 25 cents. So what are we supposed to do there? They want you to basically determine what is the value of D, right? So basically here, if you look at the information that is given to us here, they told us that for us to calculate the value of D, you just need to take the value of A, okay, which is this. This is the A plus the B. Remember, this is our B, the total levy, okay, and that will basically give us our D. So please here, you need to ensure that you are getting that amount of 781 rand and 25 cents, because they are saying that you need to show that the total amount payable is that amount. So it has to be that amount. So for us to calculate the value of D, they told us that the value of D is equal to the A plus the B. Okay, so we can see that the value of A is 219 rand, 70 cents, plus the value of B is that 561 rand, 55 cents. Okay, so if you actually punch these two values together, you should see that you get that 781 rands, 25 cents. Okay, happiness. Okay, so here again, guys, honestly speaking, still, okay, easy questions. We should be gliding through these questions. Nothing hard, nothing challenging about these questions if we are being honest. Okay, now let's look at question, am I missing something? Yeah, question 2. Like I said, with question 2.1, okay, question 2.1 deals with your cost price and your selling price, right? And just to do a quick recap. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.